Okay, letting everyone in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Right, we've got a few minutes or a few, just let everybody join here and then we'll get started. Welcome, welcome. This is the 34th Tutorial Tuesday that we've done, and this is the second in our series on toe-up socks. So welcome back. If you missed the first series or the first round of this toe-up socks, it is recorded. So you can go ahead and find that, and we'll be posting the links there. I'm Suzanne Nielsen, and with me also is Laura, and we're gonna help you through these toe-up socks today. So today we just have the foot. We're doing the setup for the foot, and you'll get to see it on both 2 at a time circular needles, also double points. So I will do both of those versions, and then I think we'll have quite a bit of time this time for questions. So don't be shy about asking any questions that you have along the way, and we'll stop and we'll get to those. So hi everyone, welcome again. And this is I said already, the 34th Tutorial Tuesday, all sponsored by Zen Yarn Garden. So we really want to thank them for doing this. And they are, again, giving away $20 gift certificates. So Laura will be giving those out. So anything you want to say, prepare them at all, Laura?
No, even I don't know what I'm going to ask yet tonight. We will, at the midpoint, we will have you open your chat. And this evening, I will be selecting probably the 3rd or 4th person to respond. If you have won in the previous weeks, we do try and spread the love around. So we'd ask that you not enter if you've won the last week or two. But we will have 2 $20 gift cards, and those are good for anything in the Zen Yarn Garden shop.
All right, so without further ado, we will get started. And I am first going to show, well, here we can look at both of my socks that I've got going here. So I have one set that's the 2 at a time on a long circular needle. And then I've also got a pair going here that is on double points. So I will show both of those and answer any other questions that are coming. All right, so first of all, what we did last time was set up for the toe. So we did our cast on, and then we started increasing on both sides. And then at the very end of that tutorial, or sorry, at the very end of the toe setup, you do a row where you only increase 1 on the top of the foot, and then you increase the same like twice on the bottom of the foot. And so I've already gone ahead and done that also. So I'm ready to start round 2 of the foot setup. So if you're following along on your pattern, I've already done the plain knit row, and then I'm going to hop right into that setup row. It'll give us a chance to also see those increases again. And remember, you can watch the recordings if you want. So to get started, I know that this is my first sock. I do put a little marker kind of at my beginning of the round. When you're knitting up 2 at a time socks, we'll knit across the first sock. This is the top of the foot, so we'll knit across the top of the foot. Then we'll do the top of the foot on the next sock, and then we'll come around here and we'll knit the bottom of the foot, and then we'll go back to this sock and knit the bottom of the foot. And that kind of completes one round, versus when you're on double points and you're just doing 1 at a time, you have the top of the foot here and then the bottom of the foot. So I'll show you that too, and a little trick on those double points. But first, to start off, so the foot setup, after you've done that offset, so now we should have 23 stitches on the top of our foot and 24 stitches on the bottom. So we do have that. And then we're going to go into this lace pattern. So I will just for knitting 2 at a time socks, or even circular needles. This is kind of the gist of it. So you push this needle in to get started, bring this one out. I always do like a little flip so that I have a cross, and that just helps it not splay apart to create a gap or anything in the sides. I'll just mention my other trick is that I really don't worry about that first stitch. I kind of just knit that first stitch, but after I knit that stitch, I pull really tight. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm putting a lot of tension on this first stitch. So that was a knit one, and then we're going to do just yarn over and then knit 2 across all the way. And this one I will do continental style, and on the other sock I will switch and do English style. So it's just yarn over and knit 2 together, and that's all we do across here. And a little fast, like I said, feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and Laura can help me keep an eye on those and let me know if any are coming up. And all right, so just yarn over, knit 2 across. When you're on these circular needles, it's nice because it does say knit to the marker, but I know that my markers are just at the halfway points. So I can just knit until I'm out of stitches. All right, then I drop that yarn and I move on to my other sock. So this is kind of just a repeat, but I will, I said I was going to do it English style, so I will try. Forgive my awkwardness. But we'll again start off with just kind of an easy, I just do a knit stitch however I want to, but then is when I pull it hard to keep the ladders from coming. So after I do the stitch, then I pull hard and then I go into the pattern, which is just the yarn over and knit 2 together again. So we'll yarn over and knit 2 together. Yarn over. All right, and that's pretty much it. The next row of the lace pattern that I'll show is just SSK and then yarn over. And I'll show you my trick for the SSK. I think I've shown that before a couple times, but in case you didn't see that, next time. But for now, we're just yarn over, knitting across.
Deborah says she's using your front door saying, and it's helping a lot.
Yay. Oh, good. Yay. Yes. We can revisit that because so this row we do need to increase also on the bottom of the foot. So right now I just have done the top of the foot twice and almost I'll get to do the bottom of the foot. All right, I'm going to slow down here and show you how to move those stitches around, because that is kind of the tricky part with the magic loop or 2 at a time socks. All right, so I just finished knitting across this top foot of the second pair of socks. And now I usually like to either push my needle in, which is awesome with these Chagu needles. That's why I like them, because the cord is stiff enough that you can push it. But otherwise, you can also grab the cable and pull your knitting needle into the other side. And then we just do a flip so that we can start knitting across here. And on this row, we do increase again. We increase at the beginning and the end of the foot, or both sides of the foot. So again, it's a make one left, which we left the front door open. So for the left one, we need to go through the front of the bar. So again, I just do the knit one, and then I need my needle tip to go through the front of the bar because we left the front door open. for the left leaning one. And then we're going to knit. Do you see, I just do this little, I don't know, trick that makes it easy. It's kind of hard to like get into the back of the loop by itself. But if you just go into the loop and then spin your needle over the top, it makes it really easy. So I don't know if I showed that last time, but that's just a little trick for those make one lefts. And then we'll work our way across and we'll do the make one right, which is, I'll be right back. So that's how I remember it. So for the right leaning one, I need to go through the back of the bar and then make it twist to close up that hole. So let's look at that here. All right, so this one we need to go through. We left the back door open, so I need to bring my needle tip from the back to go into that loop. So I picked it up from the back. Now this one is the one that is tricky to get into. And what I usually do is I go into it this way, you know, kind of purlwise, and I just give it a really big tug and I pull it. And then I stabilize it with my finger on top of the needle. And that makes it just a little easier for me to get into that stitch from the front. And then you can wrap your yarn and go through that loop. All right, and then since I'm doing the 2 at a time socks, I would now drop my yarn and then do the other bottom of the foot. All right, so and when you're in between socks, you really don't have to do any like adjusting. You can just start knitting as long as you remember to pick up the other skein of yarn. All right, so I need to make one left. I left the front door open, so I'm going into the front. Then I can do my little trick to get around easily. And here again, pull tight on those first couple stitches and then just work your way across. And I think we can go ahead and pause for the raffle. And then I will show you the same steps with a little extra hint on the double points in the next one. And then I'll also, I'm just gonna, while we're doing the drawing, I'll do just a knit round so that we can get back to the SSK yarn over round. So let's go ahead and break and take a look for some winners.
Okay, make sure you open your chat window because we're gonna ask a couple questions. Okay, the first question, and I'm gonna pick the third correct answer. So the first question is, if you were here when we started, she said it twice, what number Tutorial Tuesday is this?
Good one. Well, this is a trick question.
It is a trick question. So
they're getting it. They're getting it.
They are getting it. Let's see. I'm going to pick the third correct answer, which is 1. Oof. Hang on. I have to scroll through.
So,
1, 2, 3. That's Mara Benjamin. So I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It might be Myra. But go ahead. It is Myra. Okay, Myra Benjamin, go ahead and message Zen Yarn Garden. She is here in the chat with us. Now, this is also going to be a little bit of a tricky question.
Wait, tell them what the answer was. The 34.
Oh, the answer is 34.
Yeah,
so the answer is 34.
It's the second one for toe up socks, but it's the 34 like cumulative.
Yeah. So, okay, are you ready? What method are you using to knit your socks? Are you using DPNs, magic loop, 2 at a time?
Oh, so this is like a freebie. You can just tell.
I was going to say it is a freebie because there is no correct answer. So I guess, Rita, you're using Flexi Flips, which is not really a method, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to you because you are number 3. So Rita, go ahead and Roxanne, she's at Zen Yarn Garden. And congratulations to the both of you.
Yay.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with questions based on what you were teaching and I didn't have a lot. So
sorry. This is
I did a fun one, but we'll go back to you and
That's
we
all
can
right.
start.
Yes, so I am working my way across. I'm not as fast at knitting as I should be, but I'm going to pause. I'm going to show it to you on double points, and then we'll get back and show you. Yeah, so if you're curious, the Flexi Flips are basically just flexible double points. So that's an interesting method.
I actually have some. I'll grab them and I can
Oh
show
yeah,
you.
that'll be good. All right, so here we go. All right, so here's my, sorry, get these out of the way, and double points. So for this, I just stuck my extra needle here. Right now I've got them spaced out on 4 different needles. What I would do for these after you've done a couple rounds is probably safe enough to go to just 3 needles. And so what I would do is put all of the top lace stitches on 1 needle, just because to make
If
my
you're
life
on,
easier.
for Deborah, on the Flexi Flips, you are correct. They only give you 3. You would have 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and 1 as a working needle. We're talking in a case where you have 4 or 5 DPNs.
Yes, yes. So these are just like traditional DPNs. Laura, did you do it this way? I'm just curious. Sorry to put you on the
Yes,
spot.
actually, I have mine in 3. I put the lace all on 1, and then the bottom of the foot is on 2. I can show when we.
Okay, yeah, and did you do it that way from the beginning, or did you do it like what I did and have it evenly spaced and then switch?
I had it evenly spaced for the toe. I switched it as I did the first lace round because I decided I didn't want, sometimes no matter how you break it up, somewhere you're going to have a yarn over at either the beginning or the end of a needle. And I find that that's not as helpful on double points. So that's precisely why I did that.
Yep. So same. So we chose the same method. That's always good to know, right? Like great minds think alike.
And I'm normally a 4 DPN with my 5th as my rotating. So usually I do not go down to 3, but in this one, like I said, I didn't want to yarn over at the end of the row or the beginning of the row.
So that's what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch from 4 and I'm going to go down to 3. So I just did a knit 1.
Let me answer one quick question. Joyce, this will be available later. It will be available on Facebook later this evening, and it will be up on YouTube by tomorrow.
Yes. Great. All right. So I just keep pausing here because I want to show you, but I do that knit 1 and then I pull tight. I don't know if you can see, but I have a lot of tension here to pull tight. And then I'm going to do my yarn over knit 2 all the way across. And I'm going to ignore, you'll see when I get done with my first needle, I'm just going to keep going so that I put all of those top stitches, top of the foot onto 1 needle, because it gets tricky here. Like, look, now I just have 1 lonely stitch that needs to get knit 2 together. But what I'm going to do is get rid of this needle. I placed that stitch right there just to hold it. And then I'll get back to my needle and put it back with this one. So now I can do a yarn over and knit these 2 together. All right, and as I get to the end, then we'll see, it's just a little easier to not have your stitches split somewhere. So that is the top of the needle. So now I have all of my top of the toe on 1, and then I have the bottom of the foot on 2 needles. And for that first setup round, I do need to do an increase. So I'll just do that quickly again. I left the front door open, so I need my needle tip to go through the front, and then I knit through the back. I still have to say it to myself every time too. So that's why, you know, if my mnemonic doesn't work for you, then make up your own, because otherwise it just is hard. All right, so now I got done with that needle, and now I am going to keep, you wouldn't want to have two unless you have if you have Flexi Flips, that's when you could have all the stitches here and then all the stitches on the other one. Or if you're doing, if you're using the 2 circulars method, that's basically what 2 circulars does for you too. So you use 1 circular to go that would always be on the top stitches, and then 1 circular would always be working the bottom stitches. All right, but let's see, I am running out of time here, so I will do this quickly. And I just want to show you the one, on the other one where we're going to do the SSK. And then any other questions on methods or?
How do you know when to stop knitting the foot?
Yeah, so
how much
the
stretch do you
pattern
use to get 3 inches remaining?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you have an answer for this?
Yeah, well, in the pattern, it says to knit until you have 3 inches, so you kind of try it on until you have 3 inches left to go on the heel, or before the end of your foot, and then you'll start the gusset. And we will cover the gusset in the next tutorial. So if you're working along with us, then knit until you have 3 inches left before the end of your foot. So
the question is also using how much stretch. Honestly, I would say when you knit your socks, if you measure your foot, like literally put your foot down on a piece. This is what I do with my niece and nephew to measure how big their feet are, so I know how long to knit for. Measure their foot on a piece of paper. You can put your foot on a piece of paper and measure the front and the back and see how many inches are between those. And then I usually knit socks between 1/2 inch and 1 inch shorter than that, which accounts for the stretch in the fabric. So if you like your socks relatively snug fitting, I would say between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch shorter than the length of your foot. I mean, I don't know what you use as a rule of thumb, but yes, obviously the fabric will stretch a little bit. So
yeah, and this one, because it has such a lacy top, I don't know. Anyway, but we are ready. So now I'm ready to start, and I'm going to show quickly the next round, which is SSK and then yarn over. So I just want you to see how the SSK stitches line up with the previous yarn overs that we did. So there is a knit row in between. So we have all, kind of just regular knit stitches, but it does start out with an SSK. So my fancy SSK is to go into the stitch knitwise and then into the back of the next stitch. And that's, sorry, I'm splitting yarn. A little tricky sometimes, but then once you get on a row. And then it's easy to come out of the stitch, just follow the same way it went in. And again, I did that stitch, I didn't worry about it too much, and now I'm gonna pull tight. So now I pull tight, do a yarn over, then I do another SSK. So the normal way to do an SSK is to slip, slip, then place them both back, and then knit them through the back loop. Now that does twist the second stitch, which I don't always do because of the way I do the SSK. But you can choose which way you want to do it. I would just say be consistent. So I'll do it that way. So yarn over, go through the front of the stitch and into the back of the stitch, and then come through. And I'll do that again. Go through the front of the stitch and the back of the stitch, go through. All right, so now I also noticed that the first stitch is the one that's kind of was the knit two together column. So that can kind of, if you just remember that, that will help you, keep yourself straight to make sure that your lace pattern doesn't get off by 1 stitch. So I always encourage you to kind of notice what's going on with your knitting. as you're working. And then we're going to be developing this nice lace top with just a simple stockinette bottom. And we will see you next time. We're going to cover the gusset. So let's go back here. And yeah, I think it's just the gusset next time, and then gusset and the heel next time. That's right. And then the final one will be the cuff.
Right. So you want to knit your sock to basically where you're ready to put in the heel by next time.
Yes. Yes.
So, and I will say, I was going to show you a couple of things. One is it's a little bit hard to see because it's a little bit hard to see, but this is mine where I have my lace already established, and it's going to do a little bit of zigzagging back and forth. It's a little bit hard to see because I'm using variegated yarn, but that's kind of what it's going to look like. It'll be just a little staggered as you go up, and I have mine on 3 double points. Somebody asked about Flexi Flips. The Addy Flexi Flips come in these cute tubes, and you get 3 needles, and they are sort of a cross between double pointed needles and Ssk, because they do have the little bit of the cord in the middle. And if you are knitting with these, you get 3 in a package. So you have like a top of the foot, a bottom of the foot, and then a working needle that you're using to work around your sock. So,
and I think that there's other ones now available too. They just call them flexible double points. So
yeah,
can do that. What else? Yes, Deborah mentions that when you're doing an SSK, the second stitch is not slipped purlwise, which is essentially what I'm doing when I do my trick that I cheat on. So it definitely is cheating. So, you have to decide if you're willing to do that or not, and if you like it or not. Yep. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. And I think Shayna is going to be showing us the gusset and the heels.
Yeah, I'm going to be out of town for the next couple, so I'll rejoin you at the end of the month when we show off.
Yes, and then don't forget we get to have show and tell on the last time. So that will be really fun to see everybody's socks, and we'll see.
Okay.
Motivation, right, to get them done. You can bring other ones too.
Yeah, you can bring anything that's done in Zen Yarn Garden.
Yes, we'd love to see it all.
Okay. See you
All
next
right.
week.
Hey, thanks so much. Good night.
Good night.